Welcome to the 8th grade Math Homework Helper Series. Tonight's homework is SE8, Solving Systems of Equations to Solve Word Problems. Let's start by taking a look at the steps that you're going to need to follow to be able to do these. For step number 1, you need to write a let statement using two different variables. Then you need to translate the words and the numbers in the word problem to create equations and solve them. Then you need to check the answer that you get in the word problem. And lastly, you need to write a sentence to answer the question in the word problem. We'll start by taking a look at question number 4. Question number 4 reads, on one day, 4 gardeners and 4 helpers earned $360. On another day, working the same number of hours and at the same rate of pay, 5 gardeners and 6 helpers earned $480. How much does a gardener make and how much does a helper earn each day? Well, we'll start by getting our let statements. So I chose let G equal the amount of money gardeners are making, G for gardeners, and let H equal the amount of money helpers are making, H for helpers. It's a good idea to choose the letters and have them match up with whatever you're working on in the problem. It just helps you keep more organized. So once I'd established what my let statements were, I then set up some equations. And the first equation I set up was 4G plus 4H equals 60, and I can show you where I got that from in the problem. We have 4 gardeners, there's my 4G, we have 4 helpers, and together they earned $360. 4G plus 4H equals 360. On another day, at the same rate of pay, same number of hours, we had 5 gardeners and 6 helpers earning $480. So we have 5G, 5 gardeners, plus 6H, 6 helpers, earning $480. So those are the two equations that I was able to create from the word problem. Once I have the equations created, I then need to think about, do I want to get rid of my G's or my H's? In this case, I chose the G's. So in order to get the G's so that they have opposite signs but same numbers, I needed to multiply each of them by the opposite G. So for G, I multiplied the entire equation by 5. For the 5G, I multiplied the entire equation by 4. And since I need to change the sign of the 5G, I multiplied by negative 4. So 4G plus 4H equals 360, all times 5, worked out to be 20G plus 20H equals 1,800. The second equation, multiplied by negative 4, worked out to be negative 20G minus 24H equals negative 1,920. I was then able to go ahead and add those two, and what that did is it canceled out the G's. Negative 20 and positive 20 canceled out. If I take 20 from negative 24, that's going to leave me with negative 4H, and 1,800 minus 1,920 leaves me with negative 120. I then divide by negative 4 on both sides, isolate the H, and the two negatives give me a positive answer, and 4 goes into 120 divided by 4, works out to be 30. So now that I know what H is, I can then substitute that back into one of the equations. So I took 4G plus 4H equals 360, kept my 4G, substituted 30 for the H, 4 times 30 equals 360. So continuing with the solution, I got 4G plus 120 equals 360. I subtract 120 from both sides. I'm left with 4G equals 240. I divide each side by 4, and I'm left with G equals 60. So now I know that the helpers made $30, the gardeners made $60. And now I'm ready to take that information and plug it back into the word problem. So I know that 4 gardeners were making $60 each, so that's going to be 60 times 4. And I know that 4 helpers were making $30 each. That's going to be 30 times 4 for day 1. So 60 times 4 plus 30 times 4 should get me to 360. 60 times 4 is 240. 30 times 4 is 120. And I bring down the 360. 240 plus 120 equals 360. 360 equals 360. So my check for day 1 works out. For day 2, we had 5 gardeners and 6 helpers. So that's going to be 60 times 5 and 30 times 6. And that should all equal 480. 60 times 5 is 300, plus 30 times 6 is 180. That should equal 480, and 30 plus 180 does in fact equal 480. So my check for day 2 works out. So at that point, I can go on to step 4, which is simply write a sentence that explains what the answer is. A gardener earns $60 and a helper earns $30. The next problem we're going to take a look at is problem number 7. And it says Mrs. Ronaldo changed a $100 bill at the bank. She received 20s and $10 bills. The number of $20 bills was 2 more than the number of $10 bills. How many bills of each kind did she receive? Okay, once again, start by creating some let statements. So I'm going to let X equal the number of $10 bills, and I'm going to let Y equal the number of $20 bills. I could have used any numbers, any letters, I should say, for the let statements, but I chose to use X and Y. Then I need to set up an equation. I know that 10 times a certain amount of $10 bills plus 20 times a certain amount of $20 bills has to equal 100. I also know that my Y, which was the number of $20 bills, was 2 more than X, and I got that from here. The number of $20 bills was 2 more than the number of $10 bills. So this sentence right here enabled me to create my Y equals X plus 2 statement. So now that I know what Y equals, I can plug X plus 2 into the equation for this. So rewriting it over here, I have 10x plus 20, parentheses X plus 2, equals 100. I have to distribute the 20 by everything inside the parentheses, so my 10x comes down, plus 20x plus 40 equals 100. I can combine like terms. 10x plus 20x is going to give me 30x, plus 40 equals 100. I can then take 40 away from both sides, leaves me with 30x equals 60. I can divide by 30 to isolate x, which is going to give me x equals 2. Now that I know what x equals, and remember x was the number of $10 bills, so I had 2 $10 bills, I can take this and plug it into the y statement and figure out what y equals. So if y equals x plus 2, and I know that x is equal to 2, I can substitute a 2 for that x. So y equals 2 plus 2. Y equals 4. So that means y being the number of $20 bills, I had 4 $20 bills. X being the number of $10 bills, I had 2 $10 bills. Now we can check to see if that actually makes sense. And we'll do that by putting it back into the equation, into the word problem. So based on my outcome from step 2, I feel that I had $10 bills times 2, and I feel that I had $20 bills times 4. So if I took 10 times 2 plus 20 times 4 equals 100, my 10 times 2 gives me 20, my 20 times 4 gives me 80, and I have 20 plus 80 equals 100, which means 100 equals 100. So my check works. So now I just need to put it into a sentence. Mrs. Ronaldo received 2 $10 bills and 4 $20 bills. Please use the homework that was done for you tonight to finish up the rest of the questions that you have. And remember, the key to success in math is not only working hard, but working smart.